Hey guys, what's up? And today, I just kind of want to talk about Wuthering Waves and how that's going to affect Genshin Impact. Is it going to kill Genshin Impact? Is it going to affect HOyoverse in any way, shape, or form? So that's the main premise of today's video. So what I want to do first is actually go over the developer live stream and talk about some major things that happened in Wuthering Waves developer live stream, go over everything that they've talked about, everything that they said there, and why I think this could negatively impact Genshin Impact and just HOyoverse in general, and maybe make them get into gear with most of their games. I think Star Rail's development team is pretty rock solid, and I think they're already in gear, but I think the team behind Genshin Impact and also probably the team for Zenless Zone Zero, this is something that maybe could kick them into gear and actually start doing something with their game and maybe make it more enjoyable for players playing the game, maybe make players want to come back to the game and just do more with the game than they're already doing, because there's really been no one stepping on their toes as of right now, but I think Wuthering Waves might just do that. So the first thing they mentioned in this dev stream live stream, what? Dev stream live stream, I don't know, dev stream live stream, I don't know, dev live stream, whatever the case may be, the first thing they mentioned, or one of the first things they mentioned, was changing the color palette of the whole game because of how dull and drab it looked.
我可以先说一说我们的场景美术。之前我们比较高频听到的一个反馈就是，明朝的场景有时候太灰蒙蒙了，甚至会有些太压抑了。当然，场景美术一直是我们项目持续在做的一个重点内容。首先基础的一个场景资产的完成度，以及优化我们的渲染表现是一直持续在做的，保有明朝场景的一种厚重质感的同时，提升了我们的一个观感跟手绘感，让整个画面会看起来更加舒适。其次呢，其实我们现在会对场景做一个更加细致的
And for free 99, I'm going to go ahead and translate to you what they basically just said there, because you guys probably don't like reading like me, so I'll translate what they said. Basically, they said that they are changing the color palette of the game because it looked dull, drab, and it's just really gloomy and kind of made you want to go to sleep. So they've changed it and made the environment more appealing, so it does make the world more enjoyable to go through it. It has more poppy colors now, so oh, flashy colors, oh, that's what I need, zoomer brain, and yeah, they changed the color palette, which honestly I agree with. It looks a lot better now in the game, but that's one of the very small things that they did. Actually, it's a really big thing that they did, but this is on the smaller scale of things, of other things they've did to the game. Changing the color palette, I think, is pretty minuscule. You flop a few color sliders around and then you get that color palette pretty much change. I know it's a lot harder than that. I know it's a lot more complex than that. I'm just making a joke here, right? But the second thing that they brought up here, which is honestly one of the biggest things that they did, was changing and reworking the story.
我要彻底的调整剧情，对于一款重内容的二次元游戏来说，无疑是一个非常艰难的决定，因为那意味着我们要把已经完成的任务动线、演出、配音等等这些资产全部推翻重来。 但是在看到上一次测试的反馈以及我们综合评估之后，我们意识到这是一件不改不行的事情。只有刮骨疗伤，从头再来，我们才有机会从根本好起来。虽然暂时没有办法跟大家同步剧情的一个改动之后是怎么样子的，大家可以简单跟大家说一下，目前我们已经完成了剧情故事将近90%的全面迭代。
And when I say rework the story, they changed everything from voice actors, not changed, but you know what I mean? They had to redo voice lines, they had to redo animations, full cutscenes, everything like that. If you're changing 90% of the story, I'm curious to see what 10% is the story they kept in. I wasn't in Closed Beta 1, I wasn't a content creator, so I didn't get in. Hopefully we get in for Closed Beta 2 and I can give a better analysis there, because I do want to play the game. I think it will be a game on the channel, but that's kind of besides the point. But I think that changing 90% of the stories is a really big step that I don't think many devs would take, right? I can guarantee you that HOyoverse would not take these steps, and this is kind of like a direct attack at HOyoverse, mainly Genshin, right? Because Genshin's main thing, the main thing they want to be known for now is storytelling and casual gameplay. So if you have someone like Wuthering Waves going back through redoing animations, redoing cutscenes, redoing voice lines, redoing just whole storylines, and not to mention character backstories as well, this is a direct, like a kind of like an attack towards Genshin Impact's audience, because that's what Genshin's known for. People love the characters in Genshin Impact because of their backstories. They love Genshin Impact because, oh, the story is so cool, even though I think the story is just okay in Genshin. I think the story in Star Rail's a bit better. I'm not going to say the Star Rail story is perfect, but I think it is a little bit better than that. Me personally, I think Honkai Impact, the third story, is probably the best one of them. But that's just me giving my copium opinion on that. Fat white man on the internet, you know? Not only did they rework the story, right? Because reworking the story is a really big feat and there's something really big to do. They also reworked the combat. The combat is the main selling point of this game, and honestly, that's why most people were going to play the game. They could have looked past the dull and drabness, they could have looked past the story mode, but the combat is why they're coming to the game. Their fan base right now, they were coming to the game regardless because of how good the combat felt, and they've improved the combat even more so. And what I mean by they improved the combat is they've changed the camera movement so it's not as jarring. It doesn't make you want to puke when looking at the camera when fighting certain boss fights. So this leads to a more stable frame rate and just a more enjoyable time playing through the combat because the combat looks honestly just impressive. Number 2, they've changed how the QTEs work, which are quick time events. If you've played Honkai Impact 3, it works very, very similar to that. Is, you know, it goes flash, 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 change, and stuff like that, right? That's the best way I can describe it. But that's the basic premise of what they changed. They also made combat smoother. Like, some of the animations they showed here, and they did like a comparison between them, they just looked a lot smoother now, so the combat just goes through a lot smoother. And I think the reason they did this is because of Zinla's Zone Zero. This is why I want to bring up this point out, right? Zinla's Zone Zero, I think the actual core gameplay for it, I think the gameplay, maybe later past the little TV screen bullshit, I think that gameplay is fine. I'm not here to doubt that. I think it's fine. The problem is the early game and how kind of Zinla Zone Zero is played, and it doesn't really have an identity right now. That's the main issue with ZZZ. What is it? Is it a roguelite? Is it a story-based game with some combat element? Like what is the main selling point for ZZZ, right? And I think that's where Wuthering Waves is trying to attack HOyoverse even further now, because now they have this game that has very impressive combat. Combat probably on the level or even surpassing Zinla Zone Zero. It's probably surpassing Zinla Zone Zero. Let's just be honest here, okay? It's surpassing the level of Zinla Zone Zero's combat, but on top of that, it's giving you an open world. I know a lot of people's complaints coming from Genshin to Honkai Star Rail was not having, oh, it's not open world. I cannot explore. I cannot get my stuff in. I have a fun time exploring the world and find my chest with 5 primo gems. Oh, stuff like that, right? Like, I don't think they're gonna like ZZZ because it's very like, how you play the game is you go through TV screens first of all, which is a shit system. They need to go through and change that. We'll talk more about that at the end of the video though. The thing is, they just have these levels where you go through, oh, it zones off this area. Bam, cool. You fight, go to the next zone. Oh, it zones off this area and I'll fight. It is a locked experience. You can't have any like free exploration there or anything like that. It's very, very similar if you've played the Honkai Impact 3 story. You go through a mission. Oh, fight. Oh, the zones are locked off. I can't keep going. Okay, well, we have to finish the fight and I'll go on to the next one. I think that Zinla Zone Zero is very, very similar to Honkai Impact 3 and kind of their solution or way to maybe move away from well, they're making Honkai Impact 3 version 2.0 or whatever, right? And they're going to do their thing with that, which looks like it's becoming more open world than it was before. But I think this is them trying to take what Honkai Impact 3 did well and put it in Zinla Zone Zero. But this does seem like an active attack against HOyoverse in this way to kind of like take those players that wanted to play Zinla Zone Zero, like, oh, but this game does it better and there's more to the game. Oh my god, like stuff like that, right? I think that's what their main target is there. Also, I think that Wuthering Wave just appeals to a broader audience, and I think that's just easier to attract players in as well because it's an open world versus like a locked experience. What Zinla Zone Zero needs to do is, I don't think they need to do away with a locked experience. They need to add more to the combat. I think just a bit more to the combat, make it more nuanced, more complex a little bit, and take away the TV screen bullshit because that's just annoying. And from what it looked like, it just looked really boring to play. I didn't play it, but it looked really boring, and if something usually looks super boring to play, it normally is. A few exceptions here and there, but that's just how it looked. And one of the other things that they're adding to the game are Pokemon, like a Pokemon-like system. They're called Echoes. You can find them through the world, like creatures you can fight and capture. But they're also adding in shinies.
世界的长相怪物在收服之后可以变成深海，为玩家战斗所使用。它们不仅能够提供数值上的提升，还能够成为各种各样可以在战斗中使用的独特深海技。漂泊者们可以在广袤的世界探索或者玩法当中接触到异象深海。异象深海的外观呢，与普通深海会有比较大的差异。 且更具有收藏的价值。
Yeah, shiny echoes, where you can go through the world and find a special variation of the echoes, which you can use on your team. I think the echoes are something like an equipment-based system or something like that, but you can use them on your team, a shiny version of them, which adds replayability to the open world. That is something that Genshin lacks, right? So instead of, playing Genshin and going through and collecting all your berries, destroying all your hilly churls, oh, I've already found all the chests now, oh, we're gonna mine all the ore now. So instead of now, at this point, going through, well, what do I do now? Oh, I guess I'm gonna go to Sumeru and count all the grains of sand. We can now, go shiny hunting for these Pokemon, which adds a lot more replayability to the open world. It makes you want to go back into the open world and not just collect items, but find these special versions of Pokemon or special version of the Echoes. That's how I see it. I think this is a really good idea. I think this is something that more open world games should implement, like a capture-based system like kind of Pokemon has, where you can catch these little creatures or pallet, even if they don't do anything, right? Just have them as like a cosmetic that maybe follow you around or something like that. I think that would be a really good idea. Just add some special rare items to the open world to really expand upon it and make it more replayable. And one of the final things they mentioned in this dev's live stream is they are making the world bosses harder to fight.
针对喜欢挑战的玩家呢，我们在地图里面投放了有更高难度的 BOSS 挑战。那么在你通关这个 BOSS 挑战之后，甚至可以获得异象深海。
And this is just, I think, the most blatant way to say, if you want a challenge, come here. If you have been wanting a challenge on Genshin Impact, then that's not the game for you because they're a casual game. Come to us because we're going to give you a challenge with these boss fights. That's really huge. I want a challenge in my games. I don't want to play a super casual game, right? There are certain casual games I like to play, and those are survival games. I don't want to go into an action RPG game and have not a challenge, right? Like, sure, the colors and stuff are pretty in Genshin, but it's a very casual game. It's just not the game for me, right? When it first started out, maybe so, right? I really enjoyed Genshin when it came out. I played it for a long time. It's what I started this YouTube channel out as. For the most part, that's when I really wanted to start playing more, right? It was Genshin Impact. And while the videos were crappy, the game was fun for me. I really enjoyed the game, but then they just make the game more casual. It makes it less hard to beat the game and beat the content, and it just becomes more tedious to do things, and that's my take on that, right? Now, do I think that Wuthering Waves is going to kill Genshin Impact? I don't think so. Genshin Impact, people are there for, first of all, the storyline, and they're also there for a casual experience. I think it's going to be very hard to uproot people from that, because it's very hard to make people change, right? If they don't want to play a non-casual game, they're not going to play a non-casual game, and that's fine, right? There needs to be games for everyone out there. I think that Wuthering Waves offers that experience where you can go, yeah, I want to have a good time, I want a good challenge, and maybe there's some casual aspects as well, but the challenge is there if I want it. And yeah, I think that's the whole thing here, right? I think it's going to be great competition for HOyoverse, actually, because what the hell is ZZZ gonna do? If ZZZ does not drop before this game, I'm just gonna let you know right now, I feel like ZZZ is going to be dead on launch. I feel like ZZZ is gonna be like their Tears of Thamaris, whatever it's called, with people, barely any people playing the game. I don't know. It's just a bad look for ZZZ. ZZZ needs to come out and do something. Like, there's been a lot of backlash for ZZZ. Maybe they need to do something like this. But if they were to do something like this, it's changing basically 90% of the game, which is possible. Do I think HOyoverse will do it? Absolutely not, because they are the giants that they are. And they're probably like, you know what? We've been shitting on our players for the last 3, 4, 5 years with Genshin Impact. Let's just keep doing it because they'll keep playing the game. And that's exactly why for the 3rd anniversary, you got 3 polls because they don't care about you. They don't care about your opinions. They don't care about the feedback because, first of all, you only give positive feedback. Second of all, there can be no constructive criticism in the community. And third off, it takes a CN player or CN group of players to say, this is bad, it needs to be changed. They don't listen enough to the EN audience, and I feel like that could be a problem for Wuthering Waves as well. It seems like maybe they only talk to the Chinese or Korean audience that aren't like a global audience, and I think that could be a major issue if the global side wants to see something change, but say like the Chinese/Korean side wants to see something change, we'll more likely see it from there, and then we see from our end, right? Anyways, at the end of the day, play the games you like to play. I think Wuthering Waves will be great competition and cause HOyoverse to maybe make some changes, right? It depends on how well that they can market the game and how many people they can keep retained by playing the game in the first month, because let's be honest, every gacha game is hype when it first comes out, and it drops dramatically after like the first week of playing, first month of playing. So hopefully it does well. Hopefully it retains its players. And all I want to say is, be more like Kuro Games dev team or the Wuthering Waves dev team. Be more like the Honkai Star Rail dev team. Just treat the players right, because that's how you really sell a game, and that's how you really keep people playing the game. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be doing some Wuthering Waves content on this channel whenever we get a chance to play it. And yeah, hopefully we get into the closed beta test. Bye, guys. I'll see you later. Hopefully you enjoyed. This is a different style video for me, and yeah, see you guys later. Bye.